everybody. Um, See, people are kind of logging in. I'm Sarah Fruity, and I just want to welcome you to the Understanding Marketing session. The best way to learn something new is to ask questions, and we really want to encourage all of you to engage with us in the chat. We want to make this session as relevant as possible during the time that we have together. At a high level, we hope that you'll walk away with a greater understanding of marketing terms and roles. So you're in the right place if that's what you came here for. We want to help you understand how to measure success and ultimately how to leverage these insights to become a more strategic partner for your colleagues and your clientele. So I'm Sarah Fruity, Director of Brand and Digital Experience at Pantheon. Currently, I'm on maternity leave, taking care of my little baby girl, my son. But when I return to work next month, you'll find me managing our marketing website and the digital growth initiatives that help improve our customer experience and optimize conversion marketing efforts for our business. You can find me on Twitter at Sarah Fruity, and my writing is often featured on popular marketing websites as well as the Pantheon blog. I'm really excited to present with Drew today. We come from very opposite ends of the spectrum and landed in the same place. I have a more traditional marketing background. I've worked for online advertising companies as well as digital publishers, and now I'm marketing on the Pantheon team, and Drew has a more traditional developer background who's landed on a marketing team. And so I'll hand it over to Drew.
Awesome. Yes. And as Sarah mentioned, I'm Drew. I am in the marketing department. I lead the developer relations team at Pantheon, and Sarah is one of my colleagues. And I arrived here by way of being a developer, then becoming a lead developer, and then starting a team, starting an agency, and all of that. So a very technical kind of background. And one day discovered, wait, I'm in marketing. And felt like I needed to learn a lot of stuff. And so hopefully the kinds of things that we're talking about today would help an earlier version of me, and I hope a current version of you. You can find me on the internet at dgorton in most places. Away from the computer, when I'm not doing this kind of stuff, I enjoy languages and travel, although there's a lot less travel these days. I would love to be there in person. I love Barcelona, and I certainly dearly miss all of the community. Actually, unscheduled, I'll just put a little plug in. If anybody here enjoys playing games, which is actually related, I do enjoy playing games. The Pantheon booth is going to have a session of games later today as the conference winds down. So if you want to join us for some online Jackbox games, we'd love to have you. I also like cooking and doing other things like that, into nerdy things, very much the stereotypical kind of nerd, science fiction, etc. So as we get started here, let's see if I can click and talk at the same time. We want to just put out two different polls. And if everyone can just take a moment, and hopefully that is showing up correctly, just go ahead and answer for yourself in the polls your understanding of marketing. Like, how well do you understand marketing? And then separately, between 1 and 10, your confidence in marketing jargon. So marketing has got lots of jargon like MQL and LTV and a whole bunch of other things like that. How many of those, like when you hear those things, when you see those things, how confident are you in your ability to decipher those? And while you're also doing that, once you've kind of got that done, I'm going to encourage you to think about one thing that you would like to learn from this session. So we have, as Sarah mentioned, we're here to help you. Like, if we're not helping you understand and get better at what you do, then it's kind of a waste of time. We don't want to do that to you. So if you know something that you would like to get out of this section, please put that into the discussion chat, and we'll try to tune our comments to better help you. Along the way, we do have questions at the end and such, but while that's happening, if you haven't done it, please keep on filling out those answers. And Sarah, we want to start with a little bit of web and Drupal sort of business insights. So Sarah, what do we got here? Tell us about websites and their role in the world.
Sure. Well, now more than ever, websites are the biggest, most important digital marketing investment an organization can make. They can either be a cost center or a revenue generator, depending on how you manage them. And according to Gardner, businesses are spending on average about 23% more on their websites than on their digital advertising budgets. And they're doing this because everything leads to their website. If your marketing team is spending money on things like online display ads, social media, SEM, or any of the channels that you see here, I can pretty much assume that their main calls to action are pointing people to your website. And if marketers aren't investing in this experience for their customers, they're failing them. And this is where you can help. The more you understand about how and why marketers are managing their digital campaigns, the better off you'll be in finding opportunities to help enhance those efforts and drive growth for their business. Now, growth might seem like a reach during a pandemic, but as you can see by this chart, not all businesses are feeling. Quite often, industry inflection points sneak up on you, but the one we're living through right now is crystal clear. In fact, our industry is evolving at about a 65x speed compared to previous years. Take my home state of California, for example. On Sunday, our governor announced expansive shelter-in-place orders. Businesses that were dependent on holiday sales were now forced to suddenly pivot online or to drop off only sales with only a few days notice. And there's a store that I actually frequent quite often called Bay Made down the street from me, and they were 100% dependent on foot traffic. They had local artisans that would sell small goods in their shop, and it was really hard to think about maintaining some kind of online experience when their stock was constantly changing. It wasn't a regular inventory. But I was pleased to receive an email from them recently that they have put together these curated boxes for companies as gifts for their clients, and it saved their business. And so a company that was 100% brick and mortar quickly turned into an online presence to adapt to this new market and new economy. And that's amazing for folks like you who are building these websites, building these digital experiences, that you can step up and help people who may not have a lot of experience in this area adapt to a new way of monetizing their offerings. And so, when you think about that, it's like how we manage business has literally changed in the course of a few months' time. And every week now is worth more than a year's worth of digital transformation time. That's huge. And that's really a big burden on marketers who are trying to keep up every day. And just on the side of the data that we're seeing at Pantheon, it really sort of bears this out. We are seeing upticks as high as 50% increase in traffic in March when the onset of COVID, compared to 3 months prior. And that traffic has been sustainable for a lot of businesses. And so there's a huge need here to really step up that experience for folks. So ultimately, like, the future is actually arriving faster now. Tomorrow is coming quicker than we've ever seen it before, and digital transformation has real urgency. So Drew and I are here today to ask you a question, like, are you ready to meet this moment? And we want to help usher you into this new way of doing your job. And so Drew's going to help sort of explain some of the marketing terms that you're going to hear a lot and the roles that support those efforts within an organization.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Sarah. So marketing is kind of like a big discipline. It's maybe a scary word for many of us. But actually, I think it's actually relatively straightforward or simple in a sort of sneaky kind of way. And that is that marketing is really just about communication, right? It's communicating who you are and what you do. I said it was kind of a sneaky simplicity, though, because communication is hard, right? So all of us we have loved ones, we have, maybe spouses, maybe kids, maybe certainly families, friends, etc., coworkers. And if you think in your own life about how often you have a miscommunication with someone who knows you quite well, I certainly know that it happens quite a bit for me. So it's really easy to not communicate well. Communication is a really hard thing to do, and marketing is essentially a profession around communicating and then understanding how well you've communicated. So there are a ton of sub-disciplines within marketing. And again, as Sarah mentioned, we're going to be monitoring the chat. I'm not going to dive into all of these different roles, but these are basically sort of sub-disciplines within a marketing department that are focused on maybe a different aspect of communication, a different avenue, a different method, the measurement of communication, the building of websites, events, etc. If anyone has questions about any of these things, and like maybe you work with someone who has got a title like this, we can dig in. And one of the things that's wonderful about Sarah's background is actually she's held a number of these different titles at different points in her career. So can speak to some of these with real authority about, like, what is it that my colleague who has this title is actually focused on doing. So one of the things that marketers use is a mental model of like how communication works, basically. And this is the mental model that is frequently used in sales and marketing organizations to sort of understand what's going on among their audiences. So this is a really common funnel: awareness, interest, evaluation, action. There are a whole bunch of different versions of the sales and marketing customer funnel, but they all kind of basically look like this. And a real sort of rough example is like, there might be 10,000 people aware of what you do. So for example, if you make pizzas and sell pizzas and that's your business, there might be 10,000 people in the world who know that you do that. There might be 1,000 people who are actually hungry right now and sort of like thinking about, what do I want to do for dinner tonight? And maybe 100 of those people are the next funnel stage down, evaluating, thinking about like, all right, I'm hungry right now. Is it going to be pizza? Is it going to be something else? Am I going to make my own? Like, they're actually trying to figure out what they want to do. And down at the bottom, there's 10 people who are actually right now making the choice, making the decision, pizza or not, or your pizza or not, perhaps. So I think these things line up to websites in a very particular way. So in the awareness stage, the things that we create on websites that map to that are blog posts, how-tos, guides, videos, search engine marketing. This is also where advertising lives as well. In the interest stage, things like webinars or ebooks, newsletters, etc., those things live in the interest stage. Evaluation is more like requesting information or adding to cart. And then that action is that final little click to donate now or purchase or checkout or sign up. So these are the different sort of stages and how they map to websites. I have a question for all of you, actually, which is, if someone's so bold to offer an opinion on something, I've put blog posts at awareness, and I've put white papers at interest. In the end, those are both just like words on a screen, right? They're not, like, they're fundamentally just content. Somebody wrote something interesting. But I'm saying that they are in a different stage of the funnel. And I'm wondering if anyone is bold enough to offer a potential for why. Why might I have done that? Why would I suggest that those things are at the different stage of the funnel? And I'm just going to pause awkwardly, waiting on all of you to type in discussion chat. Oh, we might not have many takers. Oh, there we are. Yay. Matthew, saving the day. Yes, Matthew, that is an awesome answer. There's some sort of interaction that's happening. And very specifically what's happening, their email capture, brilliantly timed. Yes, thank you, Matthew. So even if it's a fake Gmail address, you're offering up just a little bit more like, I am actually pretty interested in this thing, this piece of content that you're talking about. And I would, I'm willing to give you a little bit of information in order to sort of note that. And whether or not, again, it's like your real email address or your fake one, it's still actually a good signal. Like, okay, this thing that we're writing about, actually people are really interested in it. This is good, right? So somebody's moved further down the funnel to be quite a bit more interested. Awesome.
Yep. And I'd also like say that that's a deeper dive into the content. Blog posts tend to be very surface layer. And so when you're getting into like webinars, ebooks, newsletters, that's more of a time commitment on the user's end. I'm going to give you 15 minutes of my time instead of 5 minutes of my time. And so again, as marketers, that's an indication like, okay, they're willing to spend more time with our brand, more time with our messaging. They're more interested in potentially becoming a customer than that person that you grabbed off of like Facebook or Twitter initially.
Yeah, awesome. And the customer funnel is something that you kind of want to have, like the funnel is sort of like a metaphor, like they make it through and then they're sort of gone. But like what good organizations or many organizations will do is try to have you, like they really want you to have a great experience. So you'll go out into the world and be happy and say like, this thing, this product, this service, this organization is awesome. I love it. I want to have more of it. I recommend this to my friends and family. That's ultimately, the goal, I think, for many organizations, is to have this great sort of feedback loop. At Pantheon, we have this thing called our Heroes program, which is really awesome. There are a ton of people out there in the world who are really happy with Pantheon, and they tell their colleagues about it, and we love that, and we want to help make them successful in doing that, and say thank you for doing that. If any of you happen to be really interested in Pantheon, by the way, I would be happy to chat with you about this. We have a booth at the conference. Feel free to swing by. Sarah and I will head over there after we're done today, and we can continue chatting there on any topic. So anyways, that's the sales and marketing customer funnel. One of the things that's involved in this when you're doing this digitally is a lot of technology. So Sarah,
Yep.
what are we looking at here?
So just as the customer funnel has evolved over time, so has the marketing landscape. And this wouldn't be a marketing webinar if we didn't flash the MarTech Lunascape to demonstrate just how crowded and complicated this space has become. This is overwhelming for marketers. I mean, look at this, is 8,000 different solutions that you potentially have to vet for your business. That's incredible. It's also an amazing place for you to step up and be a more strategic partner when vetting new vendors for the MarTech stack. When it comes to problems with technology, build versus will always be a place for you to step up and have opinions to drive meaningful decisions for your business. I have gone both routes throughout my career. There have been times where we're like, this is a great solution, but if only we could tweak it a little bit, that would really solve problems for our business. And we take it internally, build that model. And then there's other times where it's like, I love this, it fits in with XYZ stack, but I need to make sure that I have a strong technical partner that's able to make those integrations work seamlessly. So it's not like I sold my boss on this big expensive piece of technology that we're spending 6 months troubleshooting because we can't get the parts to line up and pull the reports that we need. So now we're going to zoom in a little bit closer. Hopefully you can see the web building experience and management section. Maybe, I don't know if we have our reading glasses on. What about Drupal? Does anybody see Drupal in here?
Yeah, I don't know if my mouse is visible on the other side of this, but this is the I think web and content management experience, or something like that is this category. And all of these different color-coded big blobs are their own kind of technology. So digital rights management and or customer relationship management and or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, sorry, Sarah, I'm stealing your thunder.
All right, here we go. So here's the web experience. Do you see Drupal in here of the solutions that we're looking at for managing your website? Tell us in the chat if you can find the Drupal logo. We're all big fans of it. That's why we came to this conference. So we want to give it a little bit of a plug. Center lower, yes, right there. So it's like a needle in a haystack. Like literally, these things are there's just so many things to sort through and try to understand. And so it's very overwhelming. And we really need help in the marketing team to understand all these different technology solutions. So awesome. I'm going to pass it over to Drew now to help you understand those 3-letter acronyms that you often hear in meetings and kind of nod your head at, but you might not fully understand. Again, we want to remind you that this is a safe place. So please hit us up in the chat if there's things that you want to dive deeper into. I'm following along while Drew's presenting, so I'm happy to answer anything and clarify some of the terms that he's talking about.
Awesome, thank you. So there is lots of tech. No, not lost of tech. I just spotted that. That's a typo that's been sitting there for a while. There is lots of technology involved with digital marketing, right? So it's not just content management systems. It is all of those other different, like those big blobs of logos. Many marketing departments are working with, multiple of those blobs. They've got one of these, 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 one of these. They're all kind of connected. So it's content management. It is digital rights, digital asset management. It is CRM, customer relationship management, and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. One of those categories actually is the analysis of other tools. Like there's a whole big blob of, well, which analysis, service do I want to use in order to understand which of these other things I want to use? Even that's a complicated decision. There are a ton of measurements involved with all of this because there's so much tech, there's so much data flowing around. I'm going to run through a number of them. We're going to do 9 of them in short order here. And more importantly, I want to equip all of us with the tools to understand the rest of them. I think they are relatively straightforward. It's very doable, but it can be I think, quite intimidating from the outside. And then as a bonus, we're going to make up 3 new ones. So let's get into this. So here we are. We're gonna use this as an example organization that's looking at their website traffic. Here it's ending, 2020, and they're kind of looking back and saying, all right, what if, how was our web traffic this year? A lot of things happening. Let's do some reporting. So these are their numbers. They have in 2020 they have 50. They buy social and ads, and they spend about $1,000 a month to get about 2,000 visitors a month. And in order to do that, they have 50,000 ad impressions out there in the world. So 50,000 displays of their ads. So that's what they're doing for paid ads and paid social. Their overall traffic is about 10,000 visitors a month. Every month, they also get about 400 newsletter signups. And this organization has realized that their donors, which is one of the things that like their website needs to do, is like sign up donors. That's one of the critical things that they're excited about. They realize that donors are far more likely to be newsletter sign up, like have signed up for the newsletter first. And so in this organization, they sort of like note that as a special point in time. Like, all right, if they sign up for their newsletter, like we should be really happy. They're way more likely to become a donor. So again, it's just the numbers they have. And so let's apply some of these measurements to these different sort of raw numbers. One that we probably are pretty familiar with, I'm going to guess that many of us are familiar with at least, is click-through rate, CTR. So how many people click on an ad and visit your website? So if we go back and use those numbers from before, there were 2,000 visits from 50,000 impressions. That's 4%, a CTR of 4%, just some math. Another measurement that we may be familiar with, probably, and guessing many of us will be, is cost per click. So again, do the math. How much did each of those clicks cost? There were 2,000 visits. It cost $10,000 to do that. So they pay a cost per click of 20 cents. Then one that might be a little bit more nuanced or a little bit less familiar to us is cost per lead. So how much does each lead cost you? So if you look at that, they had $1,000 in ads for 100 newsletter signups. And now I mentioned newsletter signups is this sort of special point along the way for them. This is what they as an organization have decided, like when someone signs up for the newsletter, we're pretty confident that they are really interested in what we're doing. Now, this is a really simple example. A lot of organizations will have a number of different factors. It's, did they sign up for a newsletter? Did they sign up to volunteer? Did they sign up to attend a webinar? Are they at an event? It's like some combination of those things. But for simplicity's sake, we're just saying a newsletter sign up is equal to a lead. And this is also, very much kind of real world. Organizations kind of need to decide, like, what is a lead for us? But pretty much all, marketing organizations, marketing professionals have some definition of a lead, even if it changes over time, that they're measuring against. So again, numbers here, their cost per lead of this organization in 2020 is $10. Once you have those measurements, the next question you might ask yourself, or someone like your chief financial officer, or the people who are doing accounting, or the CEO or other folks, they might see these reports and think, great, CTR 4%, 20 cents for CPC. I don't know should I be happy or not? Is this good or bad? And the answer is it really depends, right? And how do you know this? Well, you compare versus history. So if your 2020 numbers are better than 2019, yay. If your December numbers are better than November, so like these are things that you keep track of. But another really important thing that you do is you compare versus your peers. You sort of say like, all right, we're a nonprofit that does these kinds of things. Other nonprofits that are like us, they typically have a cost per lead of $20. Now we feel happy. They typically have a cost per lead of $5. Ooh, what are we doing? We should maybe learn. And this is a place for those of you who are building solutions for clients that maybe you work in a vertical, in an industry vertical as an agency, for example, and you touch a lot of similar looking clients. If you know this information, you can be really helpful for an organization to sort of help guide them to get better results, and also understand what sort of normal is in in their industry. So Sarah and I represent Pantheon. We're here, we're one of the premium sponsors, and there are a number of competitors to Pantheon that are also sponsors here. If Sarah and I were to go to one of those competitors and ask them, how much is your cost per lead? I'm confident we would not just get that answer. That's just not something that's going to be shared with us. So if you're able to sort of like anonymize, you work with a bunch of different organizations and sort of anonymize that and say like, look, based on our experience, we work with people and they have these kinds of averages, and then after we work with them, their averages are improved like this. That is a really amazing, compelling, powerful story. We'll talk about that again a little bit more. So some more of these sort of jargony acronyms. There are a lot of them. MQL is plausibly one of the most important and most general bits of jargon that marketers use and marketing departments and professionals use. So it is a marketing qualified lead. It is a signal. Marketing has gone through and said, we believe that this individual, this person, this organization, is interested enough in our services to sort of take special note. And in our case, we had that very simplistic case of signs up for a newsletter. And most, if not all, many marketing organizations are ultimately judged on how many MQLs they can produce. It's like a really big, important kind of measurement across lots and lots of organizations. Another one is the customer acquisition cost. So the customer acquisition cost is if you add up all of the money you spend on sales and marketing, including staff time, et cetera, and you divide that by the number of customers you get, that's your customer acquisition cost. So if, for example, you spend $1,000 on sales and marketing efforts, and you get 1,000 customers, your customer acquisition cost is $1. If you spend $1,000 and you get one customer, your customer acquisition cost is $1,000. Again, it's something that an organization will keep track of, sort of at a high level. Like, we need to be mindful of this. What are our peers doing? What are our competitors doing? Is this a good number or bad number? Again, those same sort of comparisons between history and your peers become important. Really related to this is lifetime value, which is often abbreviated in different ways. But the customer lifetime value is how much basically money someone is going to spend with you once they purchase that first time. So for example, in sort of real world, I go to the grocery store every few days. My lifetime value at that grocery store is very different than a store that I go to just once every year or once, every few months. That's a very different lifetime value. Your sales and marketing efficiency is, again, very kind of similar to customer acquisition cost, and is like add up all of your costs of sales and marketing from the last reporting period. So if you're reporting every month, for example, your sales and marketing efficiency would be all of the money you spend on sales and marketing divided by all of the sales you get in the current quarter. So for example, if you spent $1,000 we'll just go by month, $1,000 last month, and you have $1,000 in new sales, that is a sales and marketing efficiency of 1. And again, this is like a CMO kind of chief revenue officer kind of number, something that people pay attention to at a very high level. ROI is something I think all of us have probably heard, but I included it here because it stands for return on investment. It means how much are we getting out of all this time and energy and money that we're spending. And it's something that marketers are constantly being asked as to like, okay, great, you spent a bunch of money, you spent a bunch of time on it. Did it do anything? And this is like a constant pressure that marketers feel. And if you can help them answer that, that's really, really helpful. You're being a great partner to help them be able to come up with a clean answer. And then a lot of these
things. Did we do anything and should we do it again, right, Drew?
What's that?
Did we do anything and should we do it again?
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like a really common question. And a lot of these things are measured month over month. So with that, we're going to do a little pop quiz. I just ran through a bunch of things. I'm going to start up the next little thing. Go ahead, if you would. I think I should probably end these other things. There should be a new poll available to everyone. If your CPL is down 35%, MOM, is that good or bad? Or I don't know. And for anyone who is willing to share why in the chat, we would appreciate that, hearing from you in your own words. All right, well, we've at least got like, I'm very happy that we have, I can't see how many people answered, but I can share the results. 100% of us think it's good. Yay! I don't know, like maybe you're doing that already, but I'm happy, right? Sarah, why is this good?
Why is the CPL down a month over? So cost per lead is how much we're spending on our leads, and you want that number to be small. I don't want to spend $300 on a lead when I can spend $100 on a lead. So if our cost per lead is down 30% MOM month over month, that means that we've saved the company money by getting more bang for our buck, essentially, on our marketing spend.
Yeah.
We got 35% more of whatever we were intending, whether it be signups or downloads or whatever, for the same amount of money we spent the previous month.
Yeah, so it's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so Sarah,
get a big pat on the back from the boss. Cool. And so in order, like something like that makes a marketer happy, right? You got your CPL down 35%. That's a big win. Maybe in another time period we would go out for drinks or something to celebrate. But now you get a virtual high five over Slack, perhaps. So yeah, how can we continue to make marketers happy? You know, despite all of the data and tools that we have access to, most marketers will tell you that they're actually really struggling with attribution, which is what Drew's talking about. All these numbers are adding up to how do we quantify our spend. It's really hard, and the executive team seems to think that we can tell them exactly how our customers came to us and why they did, and it's really never that simple, and the data could always be better. I don't know anyone who's a marketer who will say like, my attribution model is amazing, I love it. Like, we all think that there's room for improvement, and it's the more technology that comes out, the more we realize we could be getting more information, and it's just more. So as developers and agency partners, this is really an area where you can step up and shine. Help marketers build better reports that generate real insights instead of vanity metrics. And what do I mean by vanity metrics? I could say, hey, our website traffic increased by 100,000 visits this month. Cool. Oh, was that good traffic? Was that bot traffic? Did those people convert into actual paying customers? These are the questions that my boss is going to ask me, and I need to have real answers to. You know, on social media, oh, we got 100 likes this month. Well, were their comments, were the comments positive? Were they negative? Did those people actually travel to our website? We really need to like dig in and understand, like, not just, ooh, this is a pretty number, it looks positive because it's high, but what is actually happening with those people? How are they engaging with our brand? Is it a good experience? Are we getting a value from it? Or is it just something that looks good on a chart and is doing nothing to help move the needle? On the agency side, what you can do, and Drew sort of spoke to this earlier, is gather quantitative and qualitative data from your clients and customers. Not only will this make the marketers in your life happy, but you might just get that promotion or new contract that you've been looking for. People are thirsty for this information, and if you have insights that you can share, that's going to really make you a valuable partner on the team. So, you know, to recap, communication is a journey, and it becomes more challenging as you go along. Reporting on the impact of your efforts is even more difficult. And so to be a stronger partner to your marketing colleagues, the best thing that you can do is to focus on better communication. If you don't understand something, ask them a question. Don't just nod your head and say like, yeah, Sarah, I'll do that later. That makes total sense. And then you're like Googling, what is this? I'd much rather, you know, as a marketer, have you ask me the point of what I'm asking you to do versus just kind of moving on without having a clear direction there. We would need help building solid integrations. Like I said, I can spend a ton of money on a bunch of new solutions, but if they don't work properly, that is going to make me and my team look really bad to the powers that be that gave us that money to invest. We need smarter reporting, not just pretty charts, but real insights into what our users are doing. And ultimately, we want to take all that information and make it better. So we want that 35% increase month over month on a regular basis, because that's going to make our board happy, that's going to make our bosses happy, and it's going to help us keep our jobs. So love to hit you guys up in chat again. I know we're a little bit of a quiet bunch today, but if you feel like sharing, I'd love to hear what you think about how can you be a more strategic partner to the marketers that you know. Is there something that like spoke to you that we've said so far that you'd like to highlight, or maybe jiggled some things in your brain that made you think, oh, I could do this when I go back to work on Monday? Let us know in the chat. I can tell you, as someone who manages a dev team, I love it when the guys that work for me and gals come to me with ideas and they're like, oh, I know that our page is loading really small or slowly on this lead form that's super important. I have this idea of a way that we can speed it up. That's going to improve my conversion rate. I love those ideas. Please, come to your marketing partners with ways that that you can improve the website and the digital experience to help them hit their goals, because it's going to put you in a very favorable light with your career. I can guarantee it. Okay, you guys are quiet today. That's fine. All right, so I have another question. What does this mean for agencies? I hope you guys aren't kind of freaking out that I'm trying to take your jobs away for you. This is actually good for business. I have worked with agencies in the past. I continue to do so today. But how I work with agencies has really changed. I used to hire them for these long, lengthy, expensive relaunch projects. And more recently, I've been focusing on strategic initiatives. So things like, improving our customer journey on the website so that people don't abandon it quickly. Or I did a performance project where we worked on page load speed to improve our user experience, which also improved our SEO rankings. And it's sort of this like trickle down effect of you fix these things on the website and it has exponential impact on your marketing efforts because people are able to access information more quickly. Agencies should really shift their goals from landing these big relaunch projects, which will still happen, by the way. And many people are launching new digital experiences, so that's awesome too. Continue to go for that business, but I would also encourage you to explore opportunities where you can really become embedded within another team. I have Slack channels where I'm talking to my agency partners every day, and they feel like they are my coworkers at Pantheon. Those are the best agency partners to have. Like, I trust them completely. They are my go-to resource for experimentation ideas, and also they help me build those experiences on my website. And so when you're thinking about new business, think about something small maybe that could really move the needle to prove to budget holders, aka my boss who's funding these projects. I might not be able to get $100,000 this month, but I could get like $15,000. And then if you can show my boss that $15,000 is paying off, that's where you can sort of become embedded in my team. That's where you can get these long-term contracts through smaller opportunities up front. And so really just start to think about that when you're talking to marketers in this new economy.
Yeah, awesome. So as you're, as in the agency world, if you are out there looking for business, looking for customers, one of the things you need to do is describe yourself. You need to market yourself. And if there are two agencies that have otherwise pretty similar everything, and one of them describes himself as the column on the left versus the column on the right, the column on the left is going to win. So being able to say that you improve cost per lead on a regular basis, or customer acquisition costs, or any of those other measurements that's sort of like native that marketers are being asked about, that are being asked to demonstrate, to prove, any of these things that you can share about your work and the outcome of your work based on these kinds of measurements, it's really, really powerful, really compelling. If you happen to share that you're really, super great at a specific technology, Drupal included, it's just less important, right? It's not as compelling.
It's kind of like table stakes, right?
Yeah.
We assume you can do your jobs. How can you help us do our jobs better? That's what marketers are looking for.
Yeah. And one of the sort of like tragedies, or one of the things that I occasionally see is like, you might have an agency that has that like sort of like they're equally well qualified, or maybe even the one on the right actually does the things on the left better, right? They're Drupal experts, and they improve cost per lead by 20%, but they don't really even know it. They're not thinking in those terms. They're not measuring those things. They're not asking their clients. They're not going to get the new business. And so start thinking about these marketers, and again, like, and your work in the context of these things. Like, if you need to dive in deep with a tech lead, stuff on the right, awesome. But if you're looking to communicate your value to marketers, think about the ways that they're being measured and communicate your work in that way. So we are arriving. We've got a few minutes for questions and answers. I see a couple of questions that are starting to flow into the questions, including actually Anya, who asked a question a while ago, which we'll get to all of you. But before we check out and go straight to questions, I want to see how we did. So I'm going to again click these things. I said we would make up 3 new acronyms. And those are now all in the live polls in the interface on the website. So did your understanding of marketing increase? Your UMI, we're calling that. I understand marketing. My understanding marketing index, increase. The UMI, yes or no? Similarly, your marketing jargon confidence, the MJC. And for those of you who set an LTOT, learned the one thing, LTOT, please go ahead and answer there. And while these answers are coming back, awesome, they're making me happy. I will share the results actually so all of you can see them. So this is, sort of coming back around to it, this is the measurement of communication, what we're doing right now. Like Sarah and I can feel good about the fact that these are coming back with big green bars that say yes. That's awesome. And this is what marketers are trying to do. Like Sarah and I have just spent a bunch of time communicating with you. And now we need to know, did it work? Should we change something next time? Should we get rid of some stuff, etc.? And this is the start of how we can start measuring, are we communicating effectively? And at the end of the day, that's really what marketers are trying to do.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So let's jump to these questions. Anya, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. But I'm just going to keep saying it that way, I guess, unless you correct me in the chat. What kind of marketings work best for us at Pantheon? I would say, like one of the things that we've traditionally seen a lot of results from is presenting at conferences. That is something that is, like DrupalCon in years past has been a big event for us, and we get to meet lots of people and, talk about the kinds of things that we do and the technologies and the platform we have. And it typically leads to a lot of people being really interested in us. So that's one big thing. Sarah, what's another, like, what else, from your perspective?
I would say ebooks work really well for us. As long as we hit the topic right and it relates to our audience, we do really well generating leads from that. Also webinars. I think in the technology space where we sit, people are thirsty for education, and Pantheon really wants to enable our customers to not only understand our platform better, but how to get the best out of it and how to make their websites the best possible. And so when we provide good resources in that area, they tend to pay off well for the marketing team. But it tends to be a lot around like education, people wanting to learn more and do more. Yeah.
All right, and then there's another question here from Dufinity. Does elevator pitch really work for startup and innovators? And
I could take this one. I've written a lot of elevator pitches. I've worked from big companies and a lot of startups, and I would say elevator pitches only work if you believe in what you're pitching. If you go through and say like, hey, we have these many investors and we do X, Y, and Z, and you're just being very like boilerplate about it and very like factual, you're not going to win the hearts of anybody over. If you're passionate about it, you show how this has changed your life, why you think that this is going to move the market, and you can really like convince somebody of your vision and your mission. That's where I feel like the elevator pitches are effective. But it's like anything in marketing. Like if you aren't doing well presenting that information, it's not going, the story isn't there, that communication isn't there, it's going to fail. So you need to really like, when I pitch things like that, I do it to my mom, who has no idea of the space that I work in. I'm like, does this make sense to you, Mom? Can you understand the business that I'm pitching to you? And if my mom, who has no software experience whatsoever understands what I'm trying to sell her, then I've done my job. But it shouldn't be hard. It should be easy for people to understand when they walk out of the room.
That's awesome advice. Cool. Well, and we are also arriving at the end of our scheduled time. And we've gotten through all the questions, but I'll say that I'm going to be heading over to back to the Pantheon booth in the virtual exhibit hall, so you can click around for that. Sarah is on maternity leave, and she has been so gracious to join us. I don't know, Sarah, are you able to come back to the booth for a little bit as well?
I'll try. Yeah, my daughter is not up yet. I can't hear her, so I can pop over for a few more questions if you guys are around.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and giving us some of your time and attention and answering the polls and playing along. And for those of you who are chatting in the conversation, in the discussion chat, it's been great. Have a great rest of your DrupalCon. There's not much left, but I hope you've all had a good conference so far. And again, we'll head over to the Pantheon booth and happy to chat with all of you there.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.